Hey YouTube! The original purpose that I had for this YouTube channel was to make vlogs or videos where I sit in front of a camera and talk about the stories that I'm writing. Because writing has always been my passion, and since I was younger, I've always written like short stories and poems and all that kind of stuff. But recently, I've been trying to work on a novel, and I just thought this would be a good way to get some of the ideas and some of the purpose of the story out there. So if you're one of the people, if you're the kind of people who don't like spoilers but would still plan on reading about it, maybe don't listen to the whole video because there might be some spoilers in here. I'm just gonna kind of talk about it. I haven't really planned anything out. But if not, if you don't mind listening about my story, then stick around. So the basic premise of my story, which is mostly what I'm just going to cover in this video, I might talk about some of the characters and whatnot, but the basic premise is the half-mortal son of the Grim Reaper leaves hell and goes to the mortal realm to try and make his father's life a living hell when his father, the Grim Reaper, kills his mother, just a regular mortal. When he's in the mortal realm, he's trying to wreak havoc, kill people, cause all kinds of hell, set cities on fire, that kind of stuff. And he runs into this character who has been named Wrath by a friend of mine who actually made this character back when we were kids and gave me permission to use her in this story because she works really well with Xavier and ties in very well and has always been a part of his story because I made up the character of Xavier the same time she made up the character of Wrath, and they just kind of go together really well. Wrath is basically a manifestation of pain itself. So she kind of has all of those abilities that you would think that she has. Like she can feel other people's pain, she can make people feel pain, and that kind of stuff. So Wrath runs into Xavier, Wrath meets him, and she's like, yo, you're causing too much pain, you're making my job too hard, what are you doing? We need to figure out what we're doing here. And basically what ends up happening is they talk it out and they figure out what exactly they can do to get Xavier what he wants. Basically, in the beginning, it's just so he'll stop causing so much pain and wreaking so much havoc and making her job a living hell. Her life a living hell, really. So they talk it out and they figure out that the only one way to kill the Grim Reaper is with one of his own weapons. And an incident came up about, I don't know, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, where a group of demon hunters known as the Seekers were planning to fight the Grim Reaper. I haven't exactly figured out exactly how they knew when and where he was gonna be. Haven't figured that much out yet, but basically they had a plan to kill the Grim Reaper, and they succeeded, kinda. It was more so that they beat him in a fight and banished him to hell. So he himself cannot physically be in the mortal realm anymore in this story. He has to reap souls using clones of himself or his powers where he could just find a certain person and take their soul or whatever. And when he was banished back to hell, his weapon stayed. His weapon stayed in the mortal realm. So what the Seekers did is they took the weapon and they broke it apart and they separated it all amongst the world. They separated it into 6 or 7 different points. And basically now Wrath and Xavier are trying to figure out what happened. Where did it go? How are we going to get it back? And is it true that it's the only thing that can kill the Grim Reaper? So that's the basic premise of the story, is the two of them are going on this journey to figure out how they can kill the Grim Reaper. And the only one person who's left alive that may know where it is a 200-year-old druid named Emrys. And Emrys' story is actually one that I just recently developed. He's a character that I just recently added to the story because, I don't know, the idea just popped into my head and I thought he'd be really cool. I thought he'd fit well in the story. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who Emrys is. When Emrys was younger and starting his life with his new wife and his son, he realized that his life wasn't exactly what he wanted it to be. He realized that his life wasn't peachy keen, I guess you can say, and he wanted so much more out of it. He wanted to practice druidry, and he wanted to know what it was like to be a nomad, living in the woods, living off of his own kills, living off of fresh berries, and having campfires to cook his food and stay warm and stuff. That was his dream. That was what he always wanted to do, because he believed that human beings were toxic in the state that they're in. So what he does is he leaves his wife and he leaves his son and he goes out to the woods somewhere and he just lives. And while he's out there, he's practicing druidry and he's learning, he's teaching himself how to manipulate nature and have nature magic and all that kind of stuff. And eventually, as time goes on, he's about 60 years old now or something like that, somewhere around that area. And he's realized that this is not the life that he's always wanted. This is not the life that he thought it would be. This is not what he's always wanted. He wants a second chance. He wants to go back and fix what he messed up with his family, but his family's long gone. He can't track him down. He has no clue where his son is, where his ex-wife is. And he's realized he's just royally messed up, and he really wants just a second chance at life. So one day, he's wandering around in these woods that he's been through a million times. He's been every single piece of these woods he knows like the back of his hand. He's tracking these woods. He knows everything that goes on in the woods, basically. He's like the god of the woods, if you will. These woods, not just the woods in general, just these woods. So he is randomly wandering through it, doing his rounds as he usually does, and he comes across this fountain that was never there before. Just magically showed up. And there's a sign on it that says something along the lines of, one drink and your life will change, one drink and you'll live forever, or something like that. Haven't quite figured that out yet, but it'll get there. So he contemplates it a little bit, and then eventually he drinks from the Fountain of Youth, which, if you know the Fountain of Youth, that typically makes people age backwards and get back to a younger state so that they can then live their lives again and live a better life and do things differently, is basically what the typical mythology of the Fountain of Youth is. But I personally thought it would be a good idea for the Fountain of Youth to, instead of reversing time and bringing you back to your younger days, it instead makes it to where you no longer age. So Emrys is still a 60-year-old man after he drinks from this fountain. After a month goes by, doesn't age at all. After a year goes by, doesn't age at all. After 10 years goes by, he doesn't age at all. And basically, he really just wants to die, and he's so tired of living, and he hates everything that he's going through. And he's absolutely miserable, but he's really powerful, and he's really smart, and he has a lot of wisdom, but he's also really crazy, and he's just a really fun character, and he's probably one of my favorite characters that I've ever written. So eventually, Reth and Xavier are trying to figure out what exactly it is that they need to do in order to get a hold of the weapon. And they're just kind of wandering through, trying to find somebody who might be able to give them some answers, and eventually they get led to Emrys. And Emrys, as old as he is, and as crazy as he is, he remembers very vividly hearing about what happened with the Grim Reaper and the Seekers. He wasn't one of the Seekers, but he was friends with the Seekers. The Seekers, like, they've met him in the woods, he's attacked them, he's tried to kill them probably a few times, some of them, and eventually they were just like, okay, we'll stop messing with you, just stop killing our people. So he knew who they were, and basically he is the answer. He's the one person that the two of them needed to figure out exactly what is going on. He's the one person that Reth and Xavier needed to help them get to where they need to be. So the story, basically the point of this video is to say that the three of those characters that I just mentioned are going on this long adventure, fighting off demons, finding pieces to the staffs. There's a lot of plot twists, there's a lot of betrayals, there's a lot of other characters in there that I haven't mentioned, but might mention in future videos. And basically, it's really just a really fun story. And the audience that I want to aim it towards is older teenagers and like maybe early 20s people, but I mean, anybody would be able to read it. I don't plan on including anything super gory or super like adult in it. Like, obviously, it would be more focused towards young adults, is what the focus would be, but it wouldn't specifically be for that group. So if it sounds like the kind of thing that you could enjoy, if it sounds like the kind of thing that you might want to pick up, just subscribe to the channel. I will definitely be putting out more of these along with the gaming stuff, which I'm also trying to keep up with, and I also really enjoy doing singing, so more of those will probably come out too, but I'm not quite 100% sure what this channel is going to end up being. Really, right now I'm just doing it for fun. Mostly, these videos, these kind of videos, are just kind of notes for myself because I can't really remember that well some things that I wrote down. So instead of writing it down, losing the piece of paper that I wrote it on, or losing the text stream that I told it to one of my friends in, I'm just going to record it here. So that way I'll be able to find it. And, yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, let me know. Like it, subscribe, and I will be putting out more videos soon, as soon as I can. So, yeah, that's it. Peace out, homeboys and homegirls.